You're good.
Good evening. We'll call to order the Stephenville Town Council meeting agenda for Thursday, September 26, 2024. Janelle, would you please take the roll call?
Councilmember Barker. Here. Councilmember Brown. Here. Councilmember Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Smith has an excused absence tonight. Mayor Mickelson.
Here. Thank you. Would you please all stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 3, public comments. Public comments from citizens on agenda items that are not on the agenda. Do we have any public comments tonight on anything not on the agenda? Yes, ma'am. Come to the podium, please. State your name, address.
Melissa Bailey, College Street. I just wanted to inquire if you guys had given any more thought to the water rates and redoing that vote from our meeting on August 6th.
Thank you. Any more public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, the approval of the minutes. Town Council meeting minutes, 9/12/2024. May I entertain a motion, please? Councilmember Barker.
I make a motion for approval of minutes for town council meeting minutes of 9/12/2024.
We have a motion by Councilmember Barker. May I have a second, please? Councilmember Nelson.
I second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have a discussion on the council on the minutes from 9/12? Nothing from the council? Any comments from the public on the minutes? Seeing none, Janelle, would you please take the vote?
Councilmember Barker. Aye. Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
And Councilmember Brown. Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, approval of bi-weekly claims. Item number 8, claim number 1941. Can I get a motion, please?
It should be 19241.
Yep,
That
I
was
had
a
a
typo.
typo.
Oh, 19241?
19241.
Okay. I have a motion. Councilmember Nelson.
I make a motion to approve claim number 19241.
We have a motion by Councilmember Nelson. Do we have a second? Councilmember Burke.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. Do we have discussion from the council on the claims? Discussion from the public on the claims. None. Janelle, would you please take the vote?
Councilmember Barker. Aye. Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
And Councilmember Brown. Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Item number B, claim number 19234 to 19552. Councilmember Barker.
I make a motion to approve claims number 19234 through 19552.
We have a motion by Councilmember Barker. Do we have a second? Councilmember Brown.
The second motion.
We have a motion. We have a second by Councilmember Brown. We have discussion from the council on the second batch of claims. None? Any comments from the public on the second batch of claims? None? Seeing none, Janelle, would you please take the vote?
Councilmember Barker. Aye. Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
And Councilmember Brown. Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Moving on to item number 6. Yes, Denny Downing Associates presentation for audit fiscal year 22-23. You're up to bat.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tika Paul, and I'm here representing Denny and Downey Associates
for the audit of fiscal year 2023. I was the lead auditor on this job, and this period covers July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. Today, am just going to focus on the key findings within that report that we issued. And if you have copies of the report, that is within the past, or in the past 10 pages of the report. Starting on page 59. So the first handful of findings are repeat findings from at least the 2020 or 2021 and 2022 reports. The first of which is related to journal vouchers for manual adjustments to your accounting system. So when we were here for the last audit, we did testing for 2023 as well and found that manual adjustments or entries to correct errors in the system were not being reviewed or approved by the mayor or the council. We want to see this being done because this is a measure to ensure proper reporting, errors are being corrected timely, and that it can lead to better oversights to avoid misappropriation of assets. And we do recommend that all journal vouchers being prepared, whether that's for your utility billing system or accounting, should be reviewed and approved by the mayor and or the town council.
Could you speak up just a bit?
Sure. The second finding is on cash reconciliations. Again, this is a repeat finding since the 2020 audit report. We found that the town was not completing a monthly reconciliation of cash for the accounting system to cash for the bank statements. And when year-end closing assistance was completed in November of 2023, an annual reconciliation was performed to agree those two. And we found that they did not agree by $23,900. Our recommendation is that the town perform a monthly bank reconciliation on all cash accounts and present this reconciliation to the mayor and the council on a monthly basis to review for potential errors and verify that that reconciliation was completed correctly. Is that loud enough?
Yes, thank you.
Internal controls and credit card disbursements. This is again a repeat finding from the 2021-2022 report. Any claims related to credit card transactions should be supported by receipts or supporting documentation. And we did a sample of your credit card disbursements and found that there was not receipts for all credit card transactions being approved for disbursement. We tested 40,655 of credit card disbursements, and there was not support for 9,632 of those claims being tested. So all supporting documentation should be maintained for all disbursements to support the full amount. The next finding is a segregation of duties finding. When completing the testing on internal controls, we found that one individual was responsible for receiving payments, posting the accounting system, preparing deposits, and reconciling the bank statements. With this, we want to see those tasks segregated between, to the greatest extent possible. That allows for a better system of checks and balance and the proper handling of cash reporting. We do understand that the town is a small government and has limited personnel, but with the number of staff we do see this as an issue that can be addressed. Moving on to the fifth finding, is advance between funds. There is an advance that was recorded in fiscal year 2028, and an advance is a long-term loan between funds. When it's a long-term loan, we expect to see that there's documentation made that states the repayment terms on that advance and also has stated an interest rate for that repayment period. So since the advance was created in 2018, there have been no payments made and there was no documentation of those repayment terms. Moving forward, there are two compliance issues we noted. The first of which relates to the building code fund. There are two MCAs that come into play with this finding. The first of which is specific to the building code fund. And this MCA states that any charges collected should not exceed the amounts to support that fund for the next 12 months. For a charge for service fund, which is similar to what the building code is doing, they should not be exceeding twice the annual budget for expenditures on their cash reserves. When we tested these two MCAs, we found that the building code was not in compliance with either of these and exceeding the reserves needed to support enforcement of the building codes by $29,000, and then exceeded the amount needed for twice the annual appropriations by $45,000. With this, we recommend that the town analyze their rates that they're charging the building code fund to see if they need to reduce those rates. The last finding that I want to address is on your water revenue bond requirements. Whenever the water bond and the sewer bond was passed, this came with a list of requirements that the town is required to meet as a result of issuing that bond. Upon testing that, one of the key items we found issues with was that both the water and sewer bonds of the town are required to maintain net revenues to be equal or more than 110% times the maximum principal and interest payment to be made in 1 year. And we found that in the water fund, that was not being met, and there was a shortage of just over $22,000. The sewer fund did meet this requirement, but just by a very small margin. With that, that's basically stating that the town did not generate enough operating revenues to meet those requirements. Whenever we see this pop up, we recommend you review your rate structure and likely need to increase your water and sewer rates to meet those revenue bond requirements as set forth by the bond council. So to focus a little bit less on the negative, if we look at the prior year report, there were 10 findings in total. And for this year, there were 7. So we are seeing improvements as far as the financial reporting goes. And I know that a lot of this does relate to timing and the staff who was here at the time. So we do believe that the town is making a good effort to make changes for the better and improve their financial reporting. So unless there's any questions, that is all I have today.
Do we have any questions to ask them from the council?
So the journal vouchers that are here, obviously, we're not seeing them as a council, is that correct? You need to be able to see those?
Correct. So mayor or the council should be reviewing those, I would say at least on a monthly basis, and then we want to see documentation of that review. Easiest way would be through a sign off on either the mayor or council to show that they've reviewed and approved of those journal vouchers.
Any other comments from Councilmember Brown?
You said that our water revenue bond requirements were in the shortage and that you also had the sewer bond. We were just made that, correct?
Correct. So the sewer bond did meet the requirements, but it was by a small margin, as I said. But the water bond was short by $22,000. And looking back at the 21-22 report, both the water and sewer fund were in this finding that they were short to meet their net revenues. So like I said, a rate increase would be recommended. And it is also to keep in mind that those rate increases do take time to see a positive effect on a finding such as this.
And the sewer is at the same percentage?
Yes, it also has to meet 110% of the maximum principal and interest.
I would like to read the response to that we gave to you. And that was the response to the water revenue bond requirement. Of course, it's a little outdated because the dates have changed. We have been working with the Montana Rural Water on a data analysis to come up with a rate increase to meet the guidelines of our USDA loan, which we had Bobby Sealer coming to at the August 6th meeting. The council meeting is to take place on, it says here July 7th. Of course, it was done in August, and a special town meeting we held, let our customers know that ask questions about the rate increase. Says the rate increase will take effect on 8/1 of '24, which of course, it'll take effect next month now. But I'd also like to add that we got a letter. We got a letter back from the state when we sent the findings to them. And it is, where is it here? It's, I'll find it anyway. Anyway, the state, we sent our findings to the state, which we have to do by law, and the state approved it. Sent us an email back to Gina saying that everything was, the corrective actions that we had taken, they found them to be good.
Appropriate.
Yeah. So. Any other questions?
Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Move on next to item 7, and I would ask the council if they would like to suspend council rules and move the public hearing on down below item D. That way we don't break up the budget. Because if people want to get up and talk about the public hearing on the budget, and then they sit down and they go through all the items, I think if we can tie it all up in this public hearing and then do the budget. So, would that be okay if I can entertain a motion? Suspend council rules to move item A, public hearing, down below item B, new business. Councilmember Brown?
I move that we suspend council rules to move the public hearing under 7A, under new business 8D,
Yep. Good one.
Bill 8D.
We have a motion by Councilmember Brown, we have a second. Councilmember Barker.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, we have a second by Councilmember Barker, suspend council rules and move the public hearing down below item 8D. Do we have discussion from the council? Discussion from the public? Seeing none, Janelle, would you please take the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Barker. Aye. Councilmember Brown. Aye. And Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Council, motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Okay, we'll move down to new business item number A, discussion decision, consent to the mayor's appointment of Brian Germain as the new airport manager. As you can see from your packet, Brian has been on the airport board, has a pretty good experience and a resume here. And if Brian would like to get up and give a little spiel? Yeah.
They didn't tell you that.
Convince the council while you're the one.
Forgive me, I wasn't prepared. Well, good evening, everyone. Brian Germain, I guess address over here on Baldwin, here in town, or just outside of town. Anyway, I guess for the last couple of years, I've been involved in the airport board. Have learned quite a bit, of course, about how our airport functions and the funding mechanisms and the struggles that we have, and have made great relationships with the users, etc. After Will has resigned, I think I kind of saw that as really kind of a need to kind of keep the momentum moving on the things that Will had been working on prior to his resignation. Things such as the courtesy car and trying to resolve the fuel and maintenance and all those types of things that we struggle with up there. For me, I feel like we've got such a great group of people involved in this airport right now, between the users and the board that we have and this council here, that I'm really optimistic that we can make this airport so much better than it is and really make it kind of that shining star here in Western Montana. We've got some really great airports out here, and I think we can be the best one for sure. So I would like the opportunity to work with this amazing group that we've got and really try to push the airport to that point.
Okay. Any questions from the council for Brian? Any questions from the public for Brian?
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, I want to come up there.
Yeah, come on up.
Craig Thomas, 4189 Amber Lane, Stevensville, Montana. I'm the airport board chair. And at Will's departure, I was on vacation for 30 days or a different job. And in the interim, Brian stepped in and took care of several items that were happening. We had new fire, the airport, new fire there, so the LUA had to be put in. We finished up an air sock and a wind sock that I had partially completed but had to depart, so he finished that up. And by the way, he did purchase the sock that was damaged on his own nickel. And then he ended up having to also put it up as well. So he is dedicated and a good man. He owns an aircraft, the 182, I believe. Is that right, Mark?
Yes.
Yes, and he is renting a hangar on the airport, so he is very much involved. And I would like to say as the council chairman or the airport board chairman, I would give him my full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Any other comments from the public on Brian Jermaine?
Okay, thank you very much.
Seeing none, Janelle, would you please take the roll?
Councilor Brown? Aye. Councilor Nelson?
Aye.
And Councilor Barker?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item B, informational. Jessica Cockrell as a new fire and court clerk. As you know, Paulette Taylor resigned here a couple weeks ago, but she's helping the new girl. Colette's husband took a new job in Polson and they couldn't refuse. So she's moving there. And she's has a lot of mixed feelings because she really loved her job here and she's very good at it. Things happen, so. We did an interview and the ladies and the judge, was the judge in on it too?
Yes.
Yes. And they all sat, and plus Colette was, and they picked Jessica, and Jessica's been in training already with Colette, so we wish her luck. So we'll move on. Do you have any questions about Jessica?
Where's she from?
She's from Florence. Yes,
Jeff, it's gonna be Jeff's clerk, right?
yes, Jeff's clerk and the judge clerk, Jeff Motley's clerk. Any comments from the public? Okay, we'll move on. Item number C, discussion decision, approval of repair curbing at 312 7th Street. If you see in your packet, Mr. Don Murphy came to me in February of last year and wanted me to go over to his place. I went over there and I saw this, and he said that he had brought this up with the last 3 mayors before me and nothing was done, so he thought he'd give it a try. So I told him I would give it a whirl when I had time, and now I think we got some time. I did get per our personnel policy, or purchasing policy, I got 2 proposals here. And one of them is for, you guys can pass it, one of them is for $1,800 and the other is for $3,800. Town ordinance says curbs and sidewalks have to come before the council for approval. And this falls under the purchasing policy of 1,500, 20, 2,500, or 25,000. correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, Bill Lesser did one. The town is going to haul away the debris.
Yeah,
Where on the first one, for 3,800, he was going to haul it.
he was, I think he, I don't know if it's on his bid, but he would be $500 or so less with us hauling it away, but
Still way above the other one. Okay, so if I could entertain a motion. Councilmember Barker.
I make a motion for approval to repair repair curbing at 312 Second Street.
We have a motion by Councilmember Barker. Do we have a second? Councilmember Brown.
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a second. We have a discussion from the council on the curb. Councilmember Barker.
Is this something that the town has done to cause the damage to it, the curbside, or what's the reasoning behind it? Because I see, walking throughout town, there is a lot of curbs.
Oh, yeah.
that,
Oh, yeah. But the
You know,
curbs
obviously
are ours.
need
We
to-
own them.
need to be repaired. So is it just over time, snow plows and?
it's a Tom thing, the two right beside him look great. I don't know why this looks so good, but there's no comparison.
He told me he can't repair it anymore. He's been repairing it since 2014. Just can't do it anymore. He just.
So are we entertaining a bid on this right now, or are we just voting on?
Well, we don't need to, we just have to approve having it done.
Oh, okay, and then,
Yeah, these are just, proposals. Yes. I'm assuming you'll take the $1,800 one.
if it's okay with Bob.
Just take the lesser amount.
So is this, I mean, obviously it's gonna cause a trickle effect. We approve one, it's gonna start coming down the
Well-
line, and I understand there are responsibility, but it's something to think about too, is it's gonna come down.
Oh,
People are
yeah.
gonna see it and they're gonna,
Just like the trees and everything else, yeah.
I have a curb in front of my house that has been out of disrepair since the day we moved in.
Mhm.
And that was over 20-some years ago.
We gotta start somewhere, don't we?
We do, but it's.
And that's another thing we should seriously discuss, in grants. There's a lot of grants out there for sidewalks and curbing, but we
Absolutely.
have to have a master sidewalk and curb. That's required. And that would be, require hiring an engineer, coming in, maybe HDR, doing a study, giving us that, and once they had it in place, then we could go out and get the bids, and then we could do some real damage in upgrading our sidewalks and our curbs.
And is that something through the planning and zoning that does that, or is it
That's the engineer.
just the engineer?
Engineering, yeah, we
Gotcha.
would bring a proposal back to you guys, put an RFQ out for engineers to do a sidewalk and curb study,
Something to put on the radar.
something to put on our radar. If we're serious about our infrastructure, which I think we are, this should be on our radar. Instead of, I know we have to fix our leaks and got trees and everything else down, but in my estimate, it's like I was over on Spring Street, they were saying, on Fifth Street and Spring Street and down Third, those are the three most traveled streets in town for the school. Some of them sidewalks, part of them don't. So if we could put, those would definitely be in our master plan. So we could put them in there, those would be the first in my,
Actual trouble.
yeah, in my opinion, those would be the first to hit first, before we have to sit in these other streets, but, yes.
So obviously that, okay, we're approving this right now, just for this.
Yes,
Those bids will come back to the council.
no, you're approving, because purchasing policy, I don't have to bring the bids back.
Oh, that's right, because it's a certain.
Yes,
dollar
we just had
amount.
to, by the purchasing policy, it fell under the amount
Yeah.
requirements, or I don't have to give the estimates.
Correct.
And we have $14,000, I think, Robert, in your cement? Yeah, I think so. No sidewalks.
So from now on, like after this is repaired, I'm not looking at these pictures and it's obviously possible trip hazards and stuff. But we would obviously focus on any other repairs to be, like start with trip hazards and things that could be dangerous to citizens while walking or driving,
Mhm.
kind of start there.
Right. Any other comments from the council on the proposal? Any comments from the public on the curb replacement on 312 7th Street? Seeing none, Janelle, would you please take the vote?
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Councilmember Brown. Aye. And Councilmember Barker.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. I think Mr. Taylor thanks you even, Mr. Murphy thanks you even more. Okay, we'll move on to item number D, discussion decision. Agreement between the town of Stephenville and the Stephenville School District School Resource Officer Program. So you have before you there the SRO contract. It was sent to John, John sent it to Gina, Gina looked it over, I think she sent it to Greg. Greg come back with a few changes he had in it. Gina made a couple changes she had in it and sent it back to Greg. And now it's back before us, so. The big change that I saw on here really was, used to be for, was it 3 years to now? And now it's 1. The school wanted that, I don't know why, but just wanted to do a year basis.
So I don't guess we got it.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember.
So that would pretty much just mean under contractual obligation that there would be a reissuing of the contract and possible assessment of training, things like that.
We already have our officer up there.
Okay.
Actually, we have 2 of them because Kenny is not certified as an FTO. So he has to have Joe or John kind of babysitting up there.
Okay.
In case something were to happen and we don't want to put ourselves or the school into a liability. So you have to have somebody that's actually qualified there. We actually have 2, I mean, John isn't there all day, but he checks in and out. And we also, there was a change as far as when the SRO officer does like school events, like football games, basketball games, then the school has agreed to pay for those overtime and not charge the town. So we don't have to split half, right? They pay for it.
No, that's full time, they pay for that,
Yeah.
for those events,
Yeah,
especially.
they pay the full amount for the events. Yep. For the tax. Any questions from the council?
I think we need to make sure
Motion,
that-
okay, go ahead, make a motion.
I'd like to approve agreement between the town of Stevensville and the Stevensville School District Resource Officer Program.
We have a motion by Councilmember Barker, do we have a second? Councilmember Brown.
I'll second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Do we have a further discussion from the council?
Just one thing I noticed in there, was they're supposed to visit with the school, the chief of police, and have reviews it didn't say how often. So that's something that we might want to make sure the chief is aware of.
He is aware.
Okay, thank you.
I think this is it's a great thing that we do have. You know, we've had some really good officers up there with the school where the kids have actually, they feel safe, you know, with who they have. And so I'm excited that this is gonna be back in place because of the last year, we ended up losing Cassie towards the end of it, so. But yeah, I'm excited for that.
And I can't speak for the school, but that might have been one of the reasons why they wanted to change it from a 3-year to a 1. Because of the instability.
I was gonna
And
say, that there was
turnover.
a lot of turnover at the time.
Yeah.
You know, the kids get to trusting somebody and then they turn around and they're gone again. So
So I can see their point in that.
Well,
it's,
she ended up going to the academy,
that's why she.
so that's why she
Oh,
was.
so
And
yeah.
then she came back, she finished out
her time to serve at the school. And it was after school got out, was when she lost that. Okay.
I knew there was a time in there that she
Yeah.
wasn't, yeah.
Yeah, she was at the academy.
Any comments from the public on the SRO contract? Any further comments from the council? Seeing none, Janelle, would you please take the roll?
Councilmember Brown? Aye. Councilmember Barker?
Aye.
And Councilmember Nelson?
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to our public hearing. Item number A, preliminary budget for fiscal year 24-25. Does anybody want to get up and speak? Nancy?
Nancy Lowell, 211 Church. I just had a couple concerns on the general fund. I didn't go over any of the other, I figured it was self-revolving. And one of them was the cannabis money. Last year they brought in $21,635 and it was cut back for this budget to 15,000. And I wondered why.
Well, because it's a guesstimate, we don't know how much we're gonna get. And so last year we actually got a lot, we did set aside a note this year, which,
But we haven't, I haven't been able to reconcile that. So it's 3% of the taxes that are paid. And, yeah, and so.
It just seems like I was under the impression when I was on the council that it would go up this year. So that might have been a change.
and here's the reason, one of the reasons why I say let's take 20,000, but it does, if that kind of sales go down, we spend that money, we don't have that.
Okay.
That's the reason why it's kind of a little bit under the amount of what, because it's a guesstimation, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then the other thing is, I know it's probably an issue, but the court system, their expenditures were $112,540, and they only brought in $10,709. I'm not sure what you do, but that's not a good thing.
It's almost like a full.
Yeah, and I did notice that you estimated 28,000 coming in for full revenue. And that would be a guess, but I would never do that because if it's a rainy season or something, it might be 10. So that's just my opinion. That's because,
Kind of based on the last few years of what it's been like, I've lowballed it the last couple of years, and it's been going up.
mhm,
We work it up, you're right, we don't open up for maintenance, that pool is just best thing is a crapshoot every year, because it could be extremely expensive, or or it just opens up and we get a full season like we did this last year. This year, we actually had
we
more
lost
lessons.
this year
Yeah.
with our money.
We
Yeah.
got so lucky.
And that didn't count the money we actually received.
I know.
We had a lot more lessons this year because, young lady running it really worked on it really hard, and she really made our revenue.
And then my other concern, and it's just a question on the fire department, under wages, they have $28,805 and $10,500 for withholdings. And I was under the impression that Jeff only got $275 a month.
But, yeah, the court clerk, or the fire clerk, you have to pay for it too.
That much? Well, I mean, isn't she just part-time?
She's full-time.
No.
Well, she's part-time,
Full-time?
she's full-time, but half and half on,
So she has another 28 in the court?
no,
So
so
she's getting 56,000?
No,
No.
but then you have to pay for the other, the chief and assistant
Right.
chief out of that. And the benefits are a lot higher because we have to pay for work comp for all the volunteers.
Okay, that's, my question was, the pension expense is on there for 25,000. And what is that for?
So the town, this is the unique thing across the state, so volunteer fire departments say they control their retirement, so their board controls everything. The towns don't control the money once you give it to them, but we are 100% liable for their retirement. And you're supposed to be 3 times the amount of annual expenses of every retirement.
And that has not been done for probably 4 years because you have to estimate who's retiring, who's might come
And at
on.
one point in time, they built up a big ton of money,
We
and
did
then they whittled it down because the requirements was now only 3 times.
we have a bunch of people, older people retire.
And even with $25,000, they do not make the 3 times requirement.
So you're giving them 25,000
The town,
instead of living with the fireman's pension money,
no, that was, and they get the fireman pension money, that 8,000 to go to that account.
right?
And so it still doesn't give them the 3 times the amount that they pay out retirement expenses.
And that's through the MCA codes that you are to give the money from our general fund?
Oh, yeah, we're liable for it. Oh, it's gone through, every town's really mad about this, because we don't control what we pay the firemen, the town doesn't control any of that.
Mhm.
We're stuck with the liability. And,
That's interesting. I just never thought you could do that.
yeah, it's a horrible deal. I shouldn't say horrible, but it's, unfortunately, it's something that they're trying to figure it out. At least they would lower the requirement of money they have to have.
Mhm.
Remember, we used to get audit findings that stated we did not do an actuary
Mhm.
and spend $20,000 to have some guy come in and tell us how much we should have in that account when they was only spending so much, it was just ridiculous. So they changed the law. We don't have that requirement, we don't have that audit finding anymore. We had that, every year we have that, up until I think 2 years ago it went away.
Mhm.
And so now we're just trying to get we're gonna have to pay that even more next year because it's getting little down and we only get $8,000 from the state for the pension.
And this is just the city firemen?
Well,
No.
no,
No, the rural too, because there was that deal they made in 15 with Minmac, when we're paying for the rural's retirement and they're paying for ours, so they're double dipping.
and as my understanding, they only have one guy on the our rolls right now for retirement, but still, that's something that needs to be looked at because it's gonna be costing the town more and more
Mhm.
every year.
Well, and then the other thing is, I don't show that the general budget is balanced. I have 908,439 in expenditures and 863,779 in revenues, which leaves $44,660.
Now it's $42,212, yes. It's not balanced.
Did you have a carryover as of June
Well, we had
30th?
it, so the last 4 years, we've been spending down a little bit of money. This year, we're spending, the difference between what we expect to get and what we get is about 42,000 in the budget. That, if you look at last year's budget, what I just looked at, right before coming in here, we have about the same amount, $1 million requirement, for total requirement for our budget. We spent 565,000. So we spent less than what we budgeted for last year.
So really,
Which is
you
really
should,
good because, but when you look at what they're asking this year, and that's been the theme since I've been here. They request a lot of money, it all looks good, and then the money's not spent in general fund. Which is, maybe it's a good thing because we don't spend money, but
I would think that you would have to reduce the expenditures to balance with the
we're still meeting our reserve requirement. This year,
35%.
you can't go over 30. Yeah, we got, no year on that.
But how can you if you don't have any, if you're in the red?
We're not in the red. At the end of this year, we'll have 154,000, the reserve's $154,000.
But this still should be balanced.
Oh, we should be balanced, but particularly this year, the evaluation and tax, which is what's going on in the state, they reduced our taxable value in town across the board in the state of Montana. We have some state, cities and towns suing the state for it. Because we didn't lose any value in town, none of the properties went down in value, but our taxable value went down, according to the state. And so there's, we lost a couple $1,000. The big picture is place like Bozeman for $21 million.
I think a lot of people will protest their taxes and not pay them this year too, which would create a deficit for the town. That's just my opinion. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Any other comments from the public on the public hearing of the budget? Okay, move on to the last item on the agenda. Item number E, discussion decision, resolution number 556, a resolution for adopting a budget and adopting wages and salaries for the town of Stephenville, Montana. Could I get a motion, please? Councilmember Brown.
I move that we adopt resolution number 556, a resolution for adopting a budget and adopting wages and salaries for the town of Stevensville.
We have a motion by Councilmember Brown. Do we have a second? Councilmember Nelson.
I second that.
We have a motion. We have a second by Councilmember Nelson. Do we have a discussion from the council, or would you like, Robert, do you want to give your presentation?
All right, we just go through the wages, what we talked about last meeting on the budget. Here's what it turned out. We talked about, the biggest thing is, okay, so we had a 2% raise for the employees, basically for most employees across the board. Like I said, I didn't take a raise. All the way down here is the raise amount. The cops, they're getting just a bump up to 124 once they finish their schooling. And then the only other one that you guys talked about was lowering the council members' pay to $200 a month. So that brought it down a little bit. And that's what's in the budget right now. So that's what you saw last. You know, it's the $600 here is extra because we've already paid that out the last 3 months. The payroll, so that's already spent. I had that kind of section of the mix. But, so that's the payroll piece. Any questions with that? Oh, the other part I added in here, you didn't see, is we have employees leaving, okay? Janelle's leaving, not Janelle, Colette's leaving, sorry. She knows she's leaving.
Thanks, Robert. Can't take a lot of vacation.
Colette's leaving, and so I put her payout in there. But we talked to her today, she's actually gonna use most of her leaves at the end of the month. So she'll still be here, but it still costs us, because now we're paying 2 people to be in that position. So it's still the same amount. And then Joe Marble left and leaving it, so that was his payout for sick and vacation time. And Glenn Bees has put in his paperwork to leave in, another week?
Monday.
Monday's the last day, I'll say, so that's his payout. Now, I had to add that into the budget because that's gonna be money we have to pay out. And that's what you saw in your packet. Any questions with the pay scale?
Any questions from the council on the wages? Any questions from the public on the wages?
Real quick, just so that the public is aware, obviously you see that the council does not make much money. We were trying to help to be able to, by decreasing our council pay, by hoping to help out elsewhere within the budget. I don't agree with some of the others that I feel that should have done the same thing, knowing where we're at. But again, we can't twist everybody's arm to do that, because it does take a lot. So it's not something that's gonna be forever, hopefully, but at least we looked at it as we needed to do what we needed to do for the town. So.
Thanks, Stacy. Any comments from the public? Will you step up to the podium, sir?
I just wanted to ask, how many employees does the town have? It's kind of hard to see from back there. Is it 12? Oh, squinting is hard. I'm not successful. Okay. No, you're okay. I hit 32 and the eyesight went. And then that includes fire and police. Okay.
So that 12 doesn't include, so we have volunteers,
Okay.
okay, and then that does include the pool people, which we can get up to 8, 9, 10, or pool season, and then
Sure.
it's seasonal time. In different times.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public on the wages?
If this is approved, is it retroactive to?
No. First of the month. Yeah, I think we'll get it.
Okay, move on. Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, so this is, I think you see that, I'm gonna try to make it a little bit bigger.
Well, there's numbers on there.
Yeah. Okay, so, there's a little bit. Actually, I can do this. Kind of, you know, Actually, okay. So here's the part we have to turn into the state, okay? Here's the amount of the expenditure budget. Here's our cash reserve at the end of the year, we need to have, you know, 70%. So our total requirement is, for each fund, is this line right here. This is the cash available right now. From our last talking, we had 215 in there. We got more bills from last year, which lowered our cash in the general fund. Mainly it was, we had JV for payroll for that last June, we had to fix. This is non-tax revenue, and that's basically our total resources, and this gives us the remaining cash right here for the year. And that's for all the funds. I noticed I highlighted the water bond and sewer bond funds. Just like we voted on last year, we got rid of those funds, and now it's just a line item in the water and sewer fund. And I'll show you that. So, any questions with that? Oh, and the other thing that changed, nothing, so the ambulance fund, let's even talk about moving that into the general fund, because that's what it's funded for. That's why there's still $2,000 left in that fund, we have to pay out of the general fund, that's already in the budget document itself. But the ambulance fund is now under fire in the general fund, so now every year we don't have to budget that, take that money out of the general fund, put it in and make a guesstimation that goes over. I'm gonna show you what that looks like here.
So the ambulance are just gonna be part of the fire.
Yep. And the same expenditure budget we had is the same budget, it's just in a different line, and I'm gonna show you that right now. So we go to expenditure budget. Oh, great. Sorry.
Just down the corner. There.
Okay, so if you look at this, try, okay, that's kind of big as it's gonna get, sorry. Got a lot left now. So if you come down to fire.
I think it's 470.
Okay, right here, fire, okay? Right there is now the emergency service. It doesn't have a lot of the object codes because those are the only ones we funded. You know, we looked at this year to fund, and that same dollar amount matches what's in there in the show request we looked at last year. It just, so now it's inside fire as a total the bottom line right here, let's see the bottom line.
So what used to be ambulance is now emergency medical services.
And that's really what the account was anyway, but the fund was called ambulance, now it's just part of the fire. So when he looks at his budget, you'll see that, you know, it's all right there for him. And we don't have to play that game of moving money. The other one, the change, since we voted to get rid of that, the bond fund. Let's go to water, I'll show you what it looks like. Good. So you notice in the water bond fund, there is no expenditure. That 191,800 is now just a line right here inside water. It's just expense of the system. Just add it right there. And that's how much you pay for that one. And that's the same for the sewer. That expenditure's got moved inside. When I talk to the auditors, that's what they do anyway. They don't give a shit how many funds we have. They combine them all together and that's how they do it. I don't know why we had, I looked at multiple towns' water systems after I talked to the auditor, and they're all like this. Ours was unique. And so, the only other thing I had to add, when we talked to the water, now that we're gonna do an asset replacement, we had to create 2 other funds. Because you can't build a bunch of money inside an operating fund. You have to have a reason to save your money. And so you do these capital asset replacement funds. And so those ones are
5211, 5311.
and right now, there's no expenditure in them because, once again, all that money we're getting off not all the money, but the money is coming off the bill for asset replacement is gonna go into those funds. And now we won't be able to spend those funds without coming back to the council to get approval. So there's none of that money spent this year, until they come back to council and get approval. And then, that's the difference between what you saw and it's just moving those funds. It took Black Mountain, we had to deal with them to get in our system, change some of the coding to make sure the bills go to the right place. We tried to do it last year, but I think we told you, last year didn't want us to change anything and look at it. And we looked at it this year, because we found any issues with that. We cleaned it up. So now, when you look at our revenue line, and I'm gonna show you that, it's a lot clearer. For water, I'll give you an example of what that would look like. So like here's a capital asset replacement one. I said we're gonna need about $110,000 is what's left from the year. Just put into that one. And then here's our water. What we had last time, we had just one, it was called over the bay, it was called water. And so this is what we got for water each year. And you couldn't tell if it was base rate or over the base rate. And the amount you have to match your bond amount is the base rate. Because you never know if you're gonna sell water over your base rate. You're always gonna meet your base rate if everybody pays their bill. And that should cover all your expenses. And then over the base rate is anything now, if they go over the base rate, they'll be able to see how much money we're making. This bulk water sales is the money out of the hydrant. And then, of course, permits, and then we have late fees and the DEQ fee. And this is a repurposed fund for Help for You. I believe it was Help for You, so that's why that's showing up like that. But that actually, the code right there is for water asset replacement, which is actually in the fund itself. Black Mountain's kind of fund like that, but it's right here. And that's how much we're going to start to move into that fund. That's the difference. So what really changed was really the wages, and after we determined what we wanted, I put that in the budget, you saw that, so that's where we're at. Questions?
So we created that water and sewer to stick them in those assets.
Yep.
That way, they can only be used for like Mission Street
Bingo.
or meters or meter pits.
Yep. So after we pass the budget, we're gonna do a little bit of housekeeping to move some money around, so that in the OMM fund is basically a reserve and what your budget says for the year. The rest of the money, we're gonna ask you to move it into the asset fund, so we won't ever spend it unless we need it. And if we come back to council and say, okay, we always have to come back to council to do a budget amendment, but it's this, you always have to come back to council to move money between funds too. So there's two reasons why you have to come back. And then it doesn't look like we have all this money sitting in the water, we just spend on whatever we want for OMM, you know, hey, we need to do this or do that. No, that money is set aside for, hopefully, in 2 years, we can do another street, and then 5 years later, we can do another street, like we did this year, if the grant matches are there. And then you're talking, so you're looking, we're looking at, 7, 8 years, maybe you'll be able to do 2 streets. That's not a lot. But that's what the rate increase allowed us to do. We're gonna get a finding next year, same finding. We didn't meet the requirements for the water and sewer last year, because we didn't base last year, so that's gonna be a return finding, probably for both of them. We know that's coming, because it's always 1 or 2 years behind when we do the audits. And we probably will get it for this year. Because,
But they're aware that that's there because of where it is.
and like she said, she knows it
She knows
takes years to
for it to
get
go
us
away.
back in there. And so I did this one last thing today, because I thought we were gonna talk about it again. We may need to talk about it again. But let's go to the rates, to where we sit. So remember, with this budget, I base the increase for water and sewer based on last year's budget. What we budgeted and what we spent, I split the difference. Okay, what you're approving this year is a higher budget, because we have higher expenses. Okay, so I'm gonna put a rate analysis. Okay, so. This is water with the budget. This is our budget right now. If we only did 10% asset replacement, only 10%, and only 10% for the sewer, our rates would be 123.95, 124. We're not there. We're 113. So we're gonna get that finding again. Next year, we have another increase that goes to 133, which my recommendation is we look at it again in 6 months and see where we're sitting.
So when we raised them, we didn't raise them enough.
No, because we didn't have this budget prepared when we started the process. So it's just
So we still play catch up.
we're gonna play catch up for a little while. But then again, if we get the water rights taken care of, that $50,000 coming off. And that's about $20 per person per year, per EDU per year, per, each EDU. So that maybe, if we get that done this year, hopefully that cost goes down and, we might be within the ballpark. But my recommendation, we would look at that in May next year. See what we're at. So that's kind of the water thing we just put together today, show where we're at. It's not, we're not building a lot of cash up to do any project, but when I really quickly, when I don't know if Dad was sitting here, I heard her asking the auditor about moving money between funds. So I have some of the tax money moving into there to help pay that. That's it. You can't do that. That's against, you can't put tax money into a fund where only certain people use. Some people only get sewer, some people only get water. So you can't move tax money into that account. that entity is a quasi-governmental private organization, business, if you will, and it's supposed to survive itself without any input of what users pay, both the water, sewer, project. And so we can't, and we don't have any general fund money put in there. That's the other problem. We could have 10 million bucks in the bank, we wouldn't be able to put any money in there. It's got to survive on the users that we have. And unfortunately, you even increase the system to get more users to pay for it, you have to buy more infrastructure. And to do that, the only way you can do that is by getting another grant and having the money to make that grant match. And that's kind of what we're trying to build for the next.
So what you're saying, if we were, some people out there are thinking we should bring the water and sewer rates back before the council again. If we did that, the rates would only go up. By
Exactly.
these
We have to use this number here.
So if the public isn't happy with 113, then can we be the 121?
The only difference is we won't get audit findings next year.
And we would be in compliance before we.
But at this rate, we did a certain increase. And, we'll look at it again. We have one proposed or already approved in June.
In
but
June, yes.
we will still be looking at the budget to see where it's at. And we should be.
So if we were to get the accounts that are outstanding accounts right now, got current, where would we be setting with that? Just like.
I think what
Hardly anything.
she got down to less than, she got last week, which was like 30,000.
Oh, gosh, her rate.
Okay, yeah, I think she started at 30, and
She
she
started at 30, she's maybe only sitting at under 30, under 5,000 maybe. No, I think it's a little bit more than that, but she started at like 42,000.
Yeah.
And right now, we're down to.
It's a little over 13, she told me yesterday. So she's getting it down.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
It was, well, yeah, because I think that's
Yeah.
money that we could have in the budget that we're.
Yep.
That if we don't have that.
And
And then
also I'll
once we
say-
get all of our water meters working and all that too, I mean, that's a big part of it.
And I'll also throw in that, in my executive report, but I'll say it now, Cody Anderson read meters today, and the count was 92. 16 of those don't count for various reasons. They couldn't get in crawl spaces. Meters are just, you can't replace those ones for whatever reason, and some of those belong to us, the town. They're not priority to read, we want to get the unread ones. So the true count that we have right now is 76. That's really good. I mean, we started out over 200. Now we're down to 76. And the only reason why we're slowing down is we don't have the meters to replace them. They're on back order. So I think we have to give Public Works and Cody Anderson and Matt and Jeff and Steve all a kudo, because it's been a real priority of theirs too, to get all this caught, because that's revenue that way.
That we're missing on.
So do we have a ballpark on how long we'll be waiting on these back meters?
No, he said 13 of us or something, I think, right now. That should get us by. He thought maybe another 25. Wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I got nine a couple days ago. So you got 24 coming in a couple weeks, and it might take about 5 months to get the whole fix.
Okay, keep plugging away. man.
Yeah, mind you, it was like not just a few months ago, it was 180.
Yeah.
184.
So
That's huge.
knock 100 off is pretty good. All right, excuse me, Robert, go ahead.
Okay, other than that, any questions?
Yes, Councilman Brown.
I was like Nancy, I couldn't get it to pencil out, but you're saying that even though it doesn't pencil out balance, we only have to be within a certain percentage?
Yep.
Okay.
So our reserve is gonna be about $154,000.
Okay.
What percentage are we at if we approve this?
That's 17.3.
17.3? So we're borderline on 20.
I mean, that's kind of really,
Really close.
really close. I mean, that's, every department has to pay attention to where we're spending and what we're doing.
And that would fall on me.
And that's, well, not only on you, it falls on the council as well.
Oh, yeah,
So
but
it's
I
something
have-
that we need to really make sure that it's within where we need to be.
We're going to have quarterly budget meetings with all the staff, and we'll go through all the numbers. If they're all in one department, we're gonna let them know. Can't do it. And if it comes down to where they'll have to get everything approved by me before they can go get something, then it'll be, that's been done before.
And I know that we've actually frozen spending as well in the past, so that's something that's.
I don't have a problem with Steve. Steve's here, but Steve is really good with his budget. He asks before he even gets anything, and you know, he lets me know we have a good relationship, like truck needs this, or this part went down, and yep, you gotta have it, you know, stuff like that. If it breaks, you gotta have it. I will address one thing though, that Glenn mentioned to me on his exit interview yesterday, and we can probably back it up. We need to seriously start thinking about replacing that dump truck. That thing is old and tired. And Glenn says, we gotta have a dump truck, of course, but that thing, it works, it runs, but it's just been along. And they bought it out of surplus for nothing.
1960. 1960 something.
Yeah,
I was
65
gonna
truck.
say, it's, it's,
We have to keep it down on our bonnet there as far as replacing that. Maybe find something with surplus or whatever, but that thing goes down and so we want to keep that on your radar. But that's about the only thing I can think of that needs to be replaced down there, don't you, Steve? That-
Not the big sweeper, but you not see it.
Oh, yeah, sweeper, yeah. Sweeper. Obviously, we can't do it this year. Okay. Anything else, Robert?
There's a question.
Any questions from the council? Like I say, we've been through here since 5 meetings since June, budget workshops. In all my years on the council, except for the first year with Jim Cruz, that was the only time we've ever really went through everything with a fine-tooth comb, went by line. So I will have to commend the council for doing that. I think that's the way it should be done every year. Seeing no more comments from the council, do we have any questions from the public on the budget? Yes, sir. Could you go to the
I'm glad
podium?
I was here when you were talking. I've been trying to quantify the leakage and the unbillable water. Not how much,
Yeah.
but the cost. Can I set a meeting with you and whoever else wants to come and just talk about that?
Yeah, I think that the cost would be hard to, well,
Well, there's electricity and there's chemicals.
yeah. There could be a formula for that, man. I mean, it really is. It's basically figuring out the amount we pump per month and the amount we bill. And the division of the cost of the budget that we do for the year. And then how much it's really theoretically costing us for pumping water and chemicals. Everything else would almost be a fixed cost.
And what I'm going off is the report that HDR gave you in 2021. They've got that. We produced this much, we built this much, this is this much.
Yeah, we haven't had the report from Plant. We haven't paid for the report because it's costly. But yeah, I mean, it is costing us some money. And that's why we're trying to do the action so we can compare the leaks. It's kind of it's a catch-22. You have to have the money to compare leaks. Repair leaks cost you, kind of money.
That's something else we'll talk about.
Yeah. We can figure it out.
And the land use agreement is over, right, Brian?
It is.
And how many days were they up there, do you know?
Yeah, ended last weekend,
No, they started on the 17th of last month,
24th,
24th,
24th of last month. Yeah.
and they ended,
They ended on, what was that date? It was the previous weekend. There it is. 9:15.
May I ask how much they're giving us this time, per day? Because I know they have a lot more assets out there.
$500 a day, right?
Yeah, and then they took over the SRE building after the third day, so then we picked up another 100. I'm waiting to, be in, well, I won't see it, you'll see it before me, but, the last 4 days of it, they had dropped down to only 4 helicopters up there, so that drops us down to the $200 rate. It'll be interesting to see if that's what they do, or if they leave it at the $500 rate for the duration.
And I'll add that part was not in the budget for the revenue, which just that almost 30 days is gonna help the airport. Cash go back up for next year. We look at what cash, what they end up with this year, if they spend the entire budget, is, they end up with about $35,000. They spend about 72,000 this year. It's gonna help them out a lot. They'll make one more year, go around with it. That's the biggest thing they got going is revenues. Unfortunately, I don't call it biggest, but it's a big help that we can't.
Right.
Based on the amount of fire, is the biggest revenue stream.
Any other comments from the public? On the budget? Any further comments from the council before we take a vote on the budget? Okay, seeing none, Janelle, would you please take the vote?
Councilor Nelson?
Aye.
Councilor Barker? Aye. And Councilor Brown?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to board reports. Raising my board reports, town council comments. Councilmember Barker.
At the last meeting, I had spoke that I was going to meet with Joyce Ann, Johnson and Sandy, I can't remember the last name, sorry, on the Help for You program, to see if there would be something that they would be interested in taking over or helping out with. I met with them this afternoon. They liked the idea, and I had a timeline of everything of how the Help for You program came. It's been over the years from 2012, from prior Mayor Bill Perrin on up through MinMac, Dewey, and so forth. There was a time that it was suspended due to the fact that there was a large amount of money in that particular fund, and it was spent down at a certain time. So that was very helpful to them to be able to hear the timeline and how it came about, and that the fact was that we had to do away with the program due to MMIA stipulations. So they're gonna look in to see what other towns and cities do, or if they have a program like that, that maybe they can look into how the money is brought in and so forth, because at this time, like I told them, there is no money in there, it's done, it's, but we wanna be able to help out somehow. I'm going to them with the Stevensville Community Foundation. They had suggested that they've done, obviously scholarships and so forth to help out the community. So they're really gonna look into it. They're gonna keep me on the loop. I'm gonna be able to attend some of the board meetings as well to see if we can't bring this into place to help out some of our community members. They were looking at it, and the one thing that they did notice that we had in there was that there was an age requirement by state law. You cannot have the age requirement on any of those types of things now. You can have the income wise, but not the age. So that was something, it was a discrimination basically is what it was, so. But they're seriously gonna take that into consideration and hopefully we'll hear more back on that. It's gonna take time, it's not gonna be something that is produced, overnight. So hopefully those that were on the program, maybe we can continue later on down the road to be able to help them as well as others. Being able to get the word out that this program did exist. I don't feel that there was enough of the community that really knew about it at the time, and there was only a certain amount of people. So hopefully maybe we can hit a broader range of, continuing to go for it. But anyway, just want to get a report on it. I told you I had to do it, so good, finish through it.
Thank you, Councilman Walker. Any other council comments?
Miss the board reports?
Oh, do you have a board report?
Yes,
Oh, go ahead.
the airport board. Craig Thomas, airport board chairman.
No. It's gotta be a council member that was at the board
Yeah,
for that.
In
Councilman.
the absence of.
No.
He didn't.
No. Sorry, Craig. Okay, we'll move on to the executive report. I will be out of town next week. I'll be attending an MMIA Board of Deputies Conference in West Yellowstone from October 1st to the 4th. Council President Brown will be my acting mayor in my absence. I want to reminder everybody that the October fall cleanup starts on October 7th through the 11th. Zones are set and can be seen at the town's website and at town hall. And I've got a little sheet here I'd like to read. What can be picked up? Organic yard material, no rocks, no dirt, no trash. Bag leaves only, no rocks, no dirt, no trash. Branches prefer to be bundled and tied, but remaining storm debris will be picked up as well. And we'll be a little lenient on that this year because, well, we had a lot of storms and it's all over town, so we'll do our best to get it picked up. There's no drop-off yard debris at Lewis and Clark Park. The zones for pickup are as follows. Zone 1 is Creekside and Twin Creeks, and they will be on Monday, October 7th. Zone 2 is Central Avenue to Main Street North. That's Tuesday, October 8th. Zone 3 is 5th Street to Main Street to Park Avenue North. That's Wednesday, October 9th. Zone 4 is Central Avenue to Main Street to Valley View Street and South. That's Thursday on the 10th. And Zone 5 is 5th Street to Main Street to Middleburg Fork Road. And that is Friday on the 10th, the 11th, excuse me. And tomorrow, Gina and I and Steve will be going to Hamilton and we'll be attending a disaster briefing at the Justice Center. And that's regarding to that disaster declaration that we got, and the governor declared us in Hamilton and Miles City a disaster. So we'll go down there and they'll give us the do's and don'ts and what we can and what we can't do to secure some funding to pick up our branches and everything else. And hopefully it means the whole town too. I mean, I don't know what's there yet, but I've talked to Eric Hoover, the disaster man, and he seems to think that residents can put in for that too. Because I don't think it's just us as a town. I think if residents have lots of trees or whatever property, they should be able to get some help with that. But he wasn't sure on that, and he won't be there, so. Town Hall will be closed on October 4th at noon, which is next Friday, due to the fact that Janelle and Gina are both gonna be out of town on weddings, and Andrina will be out of town that day. So at noon next Friday, we'll close the hall. So with that, that's my executive report, and could I entertain a motion to adjourn? Councilmember Nussey.
I make a motion to adjourn.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second motion?
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We used to get-